Hi there, everybody. Welcome to the latest Walkabout Talkabout. Today I'm here with a couple of old friends, Mike Cawood and Julie Cawood, husband and wife team behind the Phoenix Gene that launched about a month ago, I think.
That's right.
Yeah.
About 6 weeks ago or something.
Cool. Yeah, congratulations. Well, we're going to play around golf and just talk about development and all sorts of stuff. But Mike, I think you're up first if you want to kind of do a little intro to yourself. Tell us a little about your background and everything.
Well, I have a background working in games and animation and film and commercials and all kinds of stuff. But I've talked about that kind of stuff plenty of time before. So, but now I've transitioned into working with my wife, Julie, here, on basically a whole franchise, the Phoenix Gene. It's a VR game and a book. But also to give a little context.
Series.
Yes. But to give a little more context, Lucas and I met when I first came to America in 2009, when we were both animated short film makers. And we worked together on The Ocean Maker, which was an incredible experience. And I know it was kind of the birthplace of Mighty Coconut. And we've stayed in touch ever since. And funnily enough, gone down similar paths.
Yeah.
But Julie is my other half. And do you want to introduce yourself a bit?
Yes, I am Julie. Well, it's funny. I have many names. I sometimes go by Julie Pfeiffer, which is like my maiden name. And then Julie Cawood is, my married name. And then my pen name for writing my books is JP Cawood. So I'm kind of, using all of those different names. But yeah,
it actually threw me off for a second because I had never seen you actually write Julie Cawood. When I saw your name tag, I wasn't sure if you were still going by Pfeiffer or not. Yeah, I thought you were going to list yourself as Pfeiffer. Yes.
Right. It's funny. I have a branding problem in that way because once I got married, I was like, oh my God, what name do I use? But a lot of times professionally, I do still use Julie Pfeiffer because all of my credits for my TV and film work was Julie Pfeiffer. So that's kind of why I still keep it. Because I started in TV. I've created a couple of TV shows and I've written books. And, I do some licensing work now for an audio series app. And so, I'm from Wisconsin originally and came to LA doe-eyed and bushy-tailed. And, 20 years later, we're still here. And it's kind of cool to work with your spouse. I don't know that it's for everybody, but it kind of works for us.
Yeah.
And we're excited for the Phoenix Gene to finally kind of, unleash it onto the world because we've been in development for years. I think 10 years ago, we came up with the original seed of the idea.
Yeah. And Julie and I worked together on The Wrong Rock as well.
Another one of Mike's shorts, yes.
Which is our animated,
that's
animated
right.
film.
Yeah. We've all got a history of short animated films at this point, and The Wrong Rock was quite successful, has millions of views online, and even got Oscar qualified. But we decided, well, what's the next project? What do we want to do? And Julie was getting into writing books more at that stage, and essentially we've been developing IP. And this was one of the IPs that had been around for quite a while. We've played with it in lots of different ways.
I'm bad at this game, by the way.
Shouldn't be at this point.
No, I shouldn't be.
But we developed the Phoenix Gene. I mean, I thought about making a short out of it. But also it was written as a feature film screenplay at one point.
That's how it started.
Yeah. And I pitched it to a studio I was working for at one point. And it's just developed. It's been an idea that's been percolating for years, and it's keep evolving and adding to it. And when I was trying like the Quest 2 for the first time, I just fell in love with VR. And I saw what you guys were doing, and it just seemed like a really good space to get into to give us the platform to do what we love. And so, we could be writers, we could create characters and worlds. And I also could see some really interesting opportunities for what could be done in VR. So I came up with some ideas about what I wanted to play, and I could see that it didn't exist yet in the market. And then we were trying to figure out, well, what IP of ours would be a good fit for that style of game, and it just made a lot of sense for it to be the Phoenix Gene. So we started developing that IP in conjunction with this gameplay mechanic we've been coming up with. It's amazing to see it's actually been made, and like, it doesn't feel like we should have been capable of doing it, but we actually pulled it off and we shipped it, and it's kind of amazing.
Yeah, that was actually going to be one of my first questions, is sort of like, how did you guys break the work down between? Very nice.
Sorry,
the course designer is very generous on this one, whoever that person was. Yeah, I'm curious how you guys sort of broke down the work and what sort of like team that you had working on the game version of Phoenix Gene.
Wait a minute, is this course just easy? Is that it? You may no, made me look good.
We're in easy
there
mode.
Is a little bit of a sweet spot, but it's not perfect, and I think that
Yay!
Oh right, okay.
You're just boosting our confidence to get us started.
Yeah,
right?
No, it's whole too. You got to ease people in, but no, the crystals do have a bit of a sweet spot that we added because they could get a little random without a little kind of like point in the right direction, but they're also magical, so we justified it that way. So. Anyways, though, back to what you were just starting to talk about with the how you guys broke down the work and team size and just how you got it done.
Yeah, well, I mean, a lot of the early stages were, just Julie and I talking it through, figuring out what could be done. I mean, I have a background as a bess of a 3D generalist and animator at this point, but obviously I've made a lot of short films, so we know how to pull together a team, and you and I have done this before as well. And we the only thing I didn't necessarily know how to do was, like design a game. Funnily enough, I do have a little bit of a background in that because when I used to work at Rare, I got the opportunity to develop and pitch some projects. And I've always sort of dabbled in games design whilst working in games companies. But it really was a leap to assume that we could make our own game, and I'd never used Unreal before, so that was another thing that I had to learn. But
and we wanted it to be like, the game has a story, but we really in the early days focused solely on the game mechanics to make sure that the game was fun first and foremost. And so we did a prototype. Oh man. So we started with a prototype just to prove out that, the game mechanics that were in our head. Because like we wanted to use it as a storytelling device, but then first and foremost, make it a fun game.
Yeah. I mean, one of the things that we looked into early on was, could you make filmic-like experiences in VR? And truthfully, I was looking around and seeing that although those things existed, they were rare and they didn't have a lot of income and a lot of following. Not many people were talking about it. So it seemed like we needed to make a game in order to have a viable business. And also, I kind of knew from my experience that you really have to focus on making an amazing game first, and then it has to perform well on the hardware. And then you can layer in your film and TV experience. And for us, we were very keen to try to make something that was going to be a platform for us to tell stories and do interesting things with characters and interesting worlds. But it was very challenging. We were trying to figure out, because when you go into VR, you lose some of the things that I've gotten used to working in film. Like some of the cinematography is things that you can't do, but at the same time, there are other things that you can do. So we were trying to figure out what are the strengths we can lean into to compensate for the other things that we might be losing. One of the things we did too is we didn't try to make an open world game where you can go anywhere and spend your life fixing bugs and things. And we focused on something that was linear, so that it was, for us, in some ways, it's a little bit like making a film. And the testing process has been a lot like it too. I mean, we literally play the game from beginning to end, and it's a relatively linear experience, and we can give notes in a very similar way to how we would have on a short film. And we're really just about trying to make it an amazing experience for people. on that sort of first fly through. But now we're in this interesting space where we're getting feedback from people about what was working for them and what was difficult and what was easy and what they want to see more of. And so we're starting to add easy and difficult difficulty settings and things like that.
Okay.
Yeah, so now we have an easy mode and difficult mode, so that way people who want it to be a little easier have that option. And then, if you want it to be harder, you can do that too. So that was a post-launch update that we did.
Oh, cool. It's funny. I'll admit I need to do that because I could not get past the second level. There was a difficulty spike in there that sort of stopped me, but I also hadn't played this sort of game before. I can see it. Well, maybe that's actually a good thing that we should do. Could you guys kind of pitch the game for the folks who haven't played it or seen it? Just to let people know what type of gameplay, all that sort of stuff.
Yeah, so I would say, the Phoenix Gene is a action shooter that is set in a sci-fi world. And so it is a unique experience in that it's an on-rails shooter, but it's third person. So you are controlling a time-traveling Phoenix in your hands. And you have to protect the Phoenix, but you can move it between your hands and then, aim and shoot like a gun, but the bullets come from the Phoenix's mouth. So that makes it, kind of unique compared to a lot of other shooters. And so I think for people kind of playing for the first time and getting that mechanic down, it's first figuring out the movability of the Phoenix, but then we wanted to add a strategic layer to the shooter. And so we have what we call realm toggling. And by pressing the A button, you change the color of the Phoenix to either red or blue. And that it changes some of what's in your reality, like obstacles and things, but it also allows the Phoenix to absorb enemy bullets. And so that's the key element to beating some of the bosses and, really making it through. And once people get that realm toggling, I think it all kind of clicks.
One of the things I realized was going to be hard was to show physically how to explain how the controls work, because it's so unique. There are other games like Yuki that are somewhat similar to ours in that you have a character attached to your hand that you shoot from. But our character actually flies around in the space in front of you. And if you don't draw it towards your hand, it is generally floating in front of where you're looking. But if you do pull the grip button, it moves over towards that hand. If you pull the other grip button, it goes over to that hand. But you can also press both grip buttons and have it sit between. So there's this sort of organic movement of the Phoenix roughly in front of you at all times, and you're trying to steer it behind this obstacle and this obstacle, whilst also the other kind of thing that most people don't know about yet is that you can kind of throw it off into the distance. And then you can shoot.
Not know that. Yeah.
So imagine you can throw it off over that way. It's now all the way over there. And now you can actually aim and shoot here, but the fireballs come from the mouth of the Phoenix, which is over there. So you can get a different hit angle on your baddies if you want to.
Okay.
Or get collectibles that are further away and things like that. So there's extra layers of depth to it that we would like to explore more. But yeah, it was a lot of it was just, we started out going, well, I'm an animator and I want to put animation on the screen and characters, and VR inherently tends to be first person a lot. And so it's like, how do we make it third person so we can see the character? And that was one of the motivations for making it work this way.
I do have to say, Phoenix, I really, go ahead. Yeah.
Oh, I was going to say the Phoenix also kind of like has all the information you need on the Phoenix. Like when he takes a hit, his glow reduces, and then he flashes a little bit right before he's going to die. And so we didn't want like the HUD, we wanted to be more immersive. And so we put all of that information into the Phoenix.
Mm-hmm. What I was just going to say, I really like that sort of like, I don't want to call it, it's not first person. It's still a direct control scheme, but it is like you are not embodying the person. And I have to say that works exceptionally well for flying as well, because flying can be something that can be pretty nausea inducing. But the way that you guys have done it with the rail shooter, where you're just moving forward, like you are still floating through space, but it's not like you're barrel rolling. It's not like you're doing a lot of the other things that would make flying a really difficult thing. So I thought it was a really kind of a cool, elegant solution. And it does add to like an arcadey element of it that I think just works really, really well. I actually would love to see more games do that in VR. Moss is probably the other one that I can think of the most, maybe, that is sort of known for that it's a platformer. But yeah, those platformers or like rail shooters sort of things, it's a really interesting vibe that you get in VR, and everything is miniature. Things just look great when they're small, kind of dollhouse like. But yeah, I'm kind of curious a little bit with that was that something that you pretty much knew from the get-go, or did you try a couple of other control schemes before you finally landed on that?
Well, one thing we thought we were going to do initially was that we thought we would be embodying Jackie, who's the human character on the back of the Phoenix, and only seeing the Phoenix. And then it got a little hard trying to write the dialogue in a way that made sense. So at one point I just decided to do an experiment. Like, well, let's see if I put Jackie on the character, does that work? Can the hardware handle it? And ultimately it did. In fact, she sat in the T-pose just attached to the Firestorm for quite a long time, and just to see whether the hardware could handle it before I bothered animating her. But one of the beautiful things about putting it in your hand, rather than pretending you are that person, is that you feel that much more protective of the character. It's like this little thing that you have in your hands, and you can control it, and you can, like, you want it to survive, and you don't want to see it hurt, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's actually, and that's something that might be interesting to dive into a little bit from a storytelling perspective, because I do think that it's something that it's hard for a lot of folks to wrap your head around. But in games like Call of Duty, where you are actually embodying the character, it feels weird to have sort of something voices coming from your head. I mean, Half-Life Alyx would be another really good example of like a first-person shooter in VR that kind of did that. And it doesn't allow you some of those extra storytelling abilities where you sort of show what is, very nice. Where it sort of shows what the character is doing or thinking, whereas something like The Last of Us, where you're actually controlling the character from right behind, you can show things. You can have the character sort of break off into a little cutscene. You can have other things happen to or with the character. You can show the character as maybe injured, so just being able to see them limping in a way can give you a lot more storytelling opportunities. So sounds like that's pretty much what you're talking about there.
I remember that there was something about how Miyamoto from Nintendo used to say that he didn't want, what was it? I don't want to get it right, but basically he wanted to be able to tell characters, no, it's hard for me to define exactly what it was, but there was a fine line about the characters and how they want to, I'm all muddled up.
No worries.
But like being able to see the character in front of you is so different from when the player is embodying the character and controlling them, but somehow the hero of the story. It's very, very difficult. And so he actually liked the fact that there was no dialogue coming from the character and that it was all just text. And so that was something that I had in the back of my mind as well. But I feel like the games industry has evolved far enough now that there's every version of that out there. And that I've played plenty of games. Like I can play a game with Lara Croft as the hero and hear her voice, and it's not strange to me that it's a female character, for example. I don't know whether there are more women that would complain of the opposite because there's so many male hero characters. But I feel like all the rules have been broken at this point, and you can do kind of what you want to. So we had a lot of scope at this point now, so I wasn't too worried about that kind of thing. But we definitely hit up against some obstacles trying to figure out who's talking at this point, who has the information at this point. And really, that was all on Julie's shoulders mostly. She sort of wrote the screenplay for the game, but also has been writing the books. And although we started out having a lot of conversations about what the story of the Phoenix Gene was, and I would like to say that I contributed a lot to the story. Over time, Julie's had to take on more and more and more of that, to the point that she's become the boss of what is happening in the Phoenix Gene world at this point now, because I just can't. There's so much happening now. She's got so many books in development that I have to defer to her and say, what makes sense in this moment in our world? Julie, run with that.
Yeah, it's true, because it's planned to be a 6-book series.
Okay.
And the books will start launching this fall. And so there's so much more to it. And so we actually had to kind of pare down the game story so that it could, be, told in a way that we were able to, like, what were we able to deliver? Because there is that feature creep and the scope of, how much we can show and tell. And so that's why we're excited about the books, because then it just adds so much more for the people that want to go deeper into the lore and the world. And yeah, there's just so much there. And one other thing we wanted to experiment was, I like to call it the VR book experience. So currently in game, you can listen to the first chapter in audiobook right in your headset. And the text also like scrolls. So if you wanted to read the text in ebook form as well. And so you can do that right in the headset. And once the first book has launched, we're going to aim to put the whole first book in there, just as added content for people that want to go deeper. And I'm curious to see if people want to experience that kind of content in their headset or not, And I think with our play testers, it was mixed, right? Some people were like, this is awesome, I want more of this. And some people were like, oh, not for me, But so we thought that would just be another cool thing to kind of offer, so that people can go deeper into the lore after they've completed the game.
And one of the things too was that sometimes we were looking for something unique to add into the game, and we were like, okay, Julie, what is in the books that we haven't discussed that we can foreshadow here? In fact, to be honest, it's the other way around mostly. Julie was like, I would love to foreshadow this element. Can we put this in somewhere? And I'd be like, I don't think I can make the hardware do that.
Yeah.
But we did. We managed to, we optimized to the point that we were starting to add things like Julie wanted to put the grid in the sky, which was more of a story point from the second book.
Second, third, and beyond books. So our world, the city of Twin Flames, has a laser grid in the sky, and nobody knows, why it's there, what it's made from. It's something that like the Life Right Institute is, investigating, and it becomes a big key part of like the overall, mystery of the world. And I was like, no, we have to have that in the game, like, obviously. Right. And so he figured it out and put it in, but little stuff like that, we wanted even more Easter eggs and stuff. But we are a small indie team. We had I think 10 kind of on average team members, but we wanted to do so much more with the game, but we had to also say like what is doable and shippable, so
we had a bigger scope for the game at one point. We had maybe triple the levels planned at one point, and then pared it down to more the story heavy levels actually, in order to just kind of focus on what we thought was the most important thing to do. But I did want to talk a little bit about the team. Sorry.
Yeah, but I was just going to say also just, again, to make it a fun game. And because it's unique, we also wanted to kind of pace out the game mechanics so that like level 1, you're really learning how to move the movement mechanic and shooting. And then, in level 2, we introduced the realm toggling. And again, that realm toggling, pressing A, once people nail that, it's like, okay, because each boss, we really use that mechanic a lot. You have to realm toggle to beat the bosses. And once that kind of secret is uncovered, it's like, okay, great, you're gonna nail it then. And then in level 3 we unlock, like, then you can use the joystick to extend the reach. And so we wanted to pace out the game mechanics so that there's enough opportunity to learn each one. And so that was something that we learned by doing the prototype, where you kind of had it all. And it was a 10-minute prototype, I think.
Yeah, it was about 8 minutes, I think. And funnily enough, we saw how much new stuff we put in that people just didn't immediately get. And so we had to be very careful about when we taught people how to do things.
The onboarding, especially for... let's go for it. The onboarding of that sort of thing, especially with those more complex, or if it's something novel that people haven't seen, absolutely takes a little while. And I guess one of the other things that is also kind of interesting, or really, I'd imagine this was something that you guys planned, or I don't know if you lucked into it, but the fact that it is an on-rails shooter also means that you have an amazing amount of control in terms of how you're telling the story and the pacing, because things kind of happen sort of like you can actually get really, really tight with the scripting. There's some moments where you sort of pause in an area and you've got to beat sort of a boss, basically, before you're sort of like allowed to move on. But I'd imagine that was all a big part of that, sort of merging the story with the gameplay.
That was the original thinking. Like, by being linear, we would have that much control, but you'd be surprised how many times it wasn't as much control as you would hope it for, because what would happen was I would try to design the game to be delivered at a organic pace to somebody who's completely new to our mechanics. And that, to some degree, would define how long you had to spend at a certain speed going in certain types of directions, because for example, the first level is entirely straight with very little turning, because we didn't want to disorient people by turning the level around them in any way. And in fact, one of the things we do is we never actually move the horizon ever, which is why as you say, no one gets sick playing our game. But it's also disorientating if you very quickly start turning quickly. And we have our prototype had this amazing section in a maze where you turn left, you turn right, and you're doing all of this stuff at a fast pace. And we were making people duck and go over things. And that's really fun, but you have to build up to it. And 8 minutes was almost enough time for someone with VR legs to play those things out. But if you've never really played many VR games before, it was very obvious we were going to have to be even slower than that. So the first level is mostly straight. The second level only has, I think, 3 major turns in it to avoid like that level of confusion. The third level explores going down. We did this experiment where I was trying to figure out, like, I want to be able to go choo choo choo, shoot up, and choo choo choo, shoot down. I just changed my position. That confused people. But I could tell that I did some experiments, and I found that if you try to play pointing up for too long, it's really hard on the neck. It's not very comfortable. So you don't want to do that for too long. You can do it for short periods, but then you have to stop. Going down was more comfortable, but again, for only short periods of time. So I realized, well, one of the coolest ideas we had was that we would have characters jumping off of buildings and you had to save them. And so that would be traveling down for long periods of time. And so we explored the idea of having a level that went straight down. But if you go straight down, that's uncomfortable after a while. So I did this little trick. So level 3, which you haven't seen yet, you start off at the top of the building, you go over the edge of the building with these characters that are jumping off, and then we reorientate the player. We let the player have that feeling of going over the edge just for a moment. Then we travel through a slipstream and reorientate the player so that they can see they look like they're traveling down, but they're actually only traveling down at about a 45-degree angle, which is more comfortable to hold for a while. So then,
and a lot of people say that level 3 is like one of their favorites because it is a really unique like experience in VR because you're literally like flying down the side of a skyscraper, saving people who are falling and so you save these people, and it's and then we have it where you go down like the Eiffel Tower and the Statue of Liberty, and like those like videos really don't do that level justice, because like when you experience it in VR, it's like, whoa, this is cool. So yeah, that was the cool one. And the idea story-wise there is that this Life Right Corporation has created an immortality serum. And so these people are actually trying to die so that they can rebirth, because when they rebirth, they go into this ethereal slipstream, which is essentially the multiverse, and they can explore the probabilities of like, well, if I did this, how would that affect my life? And like, so the slipstream is also kind of, this multiverse kind of dimension where you can explore past, present, and future probabilities. And so so it totally absolutely makes sense with our story, but it's just really cool and fun for gameplay. So that was kind of
enough, so these slipstreams in the game, we represent them as little sort of tunnels of light. And the second level is essentially all one slipstream. But it gave us an opportunity on level 3 to give players a break. So we were able to sort of say, okay, you've spent some time going down at 45 degrees, but I know that your neck is probably waiting for a little bit of a break now. And so we travel into a little slipstream where we do a bit of a zigzag. We unload the last level while we load the next level. We let you rest your neck for a while, and then we drop into the next section. And I think the next section is shooting down a cliff face. And then we do it again and again. And then we started to come up with, well, what would be amazing to look at and feel incredible? And so we started picking out like statues, like the Eiffel Tower and the Statue of Liberty. And I have to say, the first time I flew down the Statue of Liberty, it was so amazing. I was just like, this is incredible. This is mind-blowing. We have to do this. It's just an experience. It really is. And speaking of, oh my God, that's going to be hard. Speaking of experiences, we also have just started to adding haptic support. The haptic suits. They reached out to us and sent us a haptic suit with the sleeves,
which is so cool.
Yeah, in fact, I'm wearing the visor inside the headset on this thing right now. And so basically, we're adding support for that, and it's been a really good experience. Actually, they have amazing hardware. It's very impressive, and they're very receptive. They've been quite helpful. And we're just sort of in that process of integrating it all. We've done a pretty good pass on most of the game, and we're really just kind of trying to refine things. To launch it soon, because then it takes it just to the next level of immersive like adventure, and that's really the aim of it, that we just wanted to get people feeling like, whoa, that was cool. And I think you're feeling the rumble of
level.
Like big creatures crashing on the ground and earthquakes and all that kind of stuff. So it's a really immersive experience. It's also quite physical, though, I will say.
Well, when we first were talking about making the game, though, Mike really wanted it to be physical because he felt that most of the experiences that he liked the most were the ones that got your heart pumping. And so we designed it to be a physical game, but we also realized that, not everybody wants that, and not, even if we like those games, we don't like it all the time. Right. So we also created different room scales and different scales, so that if you want to sit in a chair or sit on your couch, you choose, a smaller world scale, and then you don't have to move as much. And then we obviously added standard stuff like snap turn and smooth turn and stuff, so that you can play standing and get really physical, kind of like a pistol whip kind of vibe, or you can sit in a swivel chair, works really well, or like I said, sitting on the couch and kind of having a more passive experience. So although we originally designed it to be very physical, we made it so that there's multiple kind of modes.
Yeah, one of the challenges. Sorry,
oh no, I was going to say, because when I played it, I did notice, I believe I played it sitting in a swivel chair, and it was sort of like, I mean, it was more physically intense than Walkabout, but it wasn't something like a rhythm game or anything like that. I would say that sort of like, okay, it was a little bit of movement, but it was a comfortable amount of movement. It wasn't, I don't necessarily feel like I got a workout, but I absolutely could see how at a larger scale, if you're really having to physically walk around your space. I was playing it in an evening when I just didn't have a lot of physical space, so I didn't have the room to actually like step a couple of steps to the left and right, which it sounds like what the full. I actually want to go back and try it again though with that, just to sort of compare it now.
Yeah, well, and I play it in different ways. I would say room scale 3 was the way we designed it to work primarily, and that works with my office space, which you've seen. And then, but when I know I have to play a larger section of, when I'm playtesting the game once a week, I will typically go to a smaller world scale because I need to get through more of the game in one session without completely tiring myself out. And I'm creeping towards 50, so I don't particularly want to do too much of a workout on a weekly basis. So,
Mike, your avatar looks so young.
I know. Well, I made it a long time ago. That's why. But yeah, so I'm in a different space now. Okay. Okay, let me move over here.
Nice.
So yeah, sometimes I do typically play it, I will admit, in 2 and 3 scale. 4, I will say, is more challenging. It's it was
physical.
Really intended to be, okay, you've got a big space, you want to do a workout, try 4, and you're going to have to take a few steps to get from one side of the track to the other side of the track. And that can build up over time. So the higher the setting, the more, probably the shorter your play sessions. So we always keep that in mind. If you want to complete the game, chances are you'll want to do. We figured out that like doing 2 levels at a time is probably the average for most people. Because it is a more physical game. But if you play it at a smaller scale, you'll last longer.
And again, you can pop into easy mode and or hard mode, or normal mode. So that way, again, trying to meet players where they are at any given session is something that we learned through kind of the prototype and playtest phase.
Yeah. Well, and I would say that just again, it's sort of having played it, it seems like it's the perfect game to have that sort of like easy, medium, and hard settings, because it does have an arcade-like quality, and just reducing the number of enemies or reducing the number of damage, like it's not fundamentally going to change people's experience. It's just going to meet them at the level, as opposed to something like this where like, we have different courses, but it's like you have to redesign the environment in order to make something easier or harder. It's not like there's there's not a great way of doing something like that in a game like this. So I'm actually going to cheat and show you guys what I was trying to do the first one.
What that was going to be,
so much easier than. So yeah, you could try it. You could go for it go for it the risky way, or you could just let the crystal do what the crystal does, I suppose.
Hey, when the developer gives you the cheat code, you take it, right?
Just use it, yeah. But yeah, well, so it sounds like you guys are still kind of actively developing Phoenix Fiend. You're still making some updates, sort of like, is there anything? It sounds like you've already kind of mentioned a couple of things that are coming, but is there kind of long-term plan to keep doing those updates for a while then?
Yeah, I mean, we would love to be able to add extra levels and things eventually, but we're also looking at porting opportunities, seeing what other headsets and like we did a little test on a PC build the other day, and that worked quite well. So that's a very possible path. No guarantees, but we have to explore what other options we have.
We're also going to soon launch some languages support with like subtitles in different languages because we've had a couple people asking for that, and so that'll be probably going out soon with the B haptics support, and I think continuing to refine and do quality of life fixes in the meantime, and then hoping to add more of the book, the VR book experience content, as well as launching the books. We're very excited about that too, and we'd love to add more levels and keep but we're definitely going to keep supporting the app and our growing community.
Fantastic. Well, I guess, thank you both for spending, some time playing around with us. And everybody check out Phoenix Team. Was there anything else that you guys wanted to plug or mention before we sign off?
Yeah, one other thing is that, on our Discord, we're doing like level challenges where people can post their scores. We have, a collectible score as well as what we call a slipstream health score. And so we're, giving away, prizes and things like that. And just, again, offering insider tips and stuff. So if people are looking for that kind of community, we've got that on our Discord.
Yeah,
awesome.
But we're you can find us at thephoenixgene.com. That has all of our links to everything. But thank you.
Awesome.
Thank you, Lucas.
Cool. Yeah. Well, thank you everybody for watching.
Check out your new course.
Oh yeah, that's right. Had you guys got a chance to come in and play it yet? Yeah.
No, this is the first time seeing it. This is amazing.
Course.
Okay.
Yeah,
cool.
It's gorgeous.
Yeah, fantastic. Well, and I think you beat me too. We hopped off the scoreboard before I even got a chance to check. But
didn't see what the score was.
Let's not look at my score.
I'm pretty sure that Mike won.
Oh, really?
I blame my left-handedness on everything, and I probably have the worst score.
I've been playing with my left hand for reasons, but I feel that does give everyone evens the playing field a little bit since I've played this course so much. So, anyways, thank you everyone for watching. Check out Phoenix Team, phoenixteam.com, and we'll see you on the next Talkabout.